Hey everyone, welcome back to Time Tellers, the podcast where history hums, howls, and hits you right in the soul. I'm Dan.
And I'm Renee. And today's episode is personal, deeply musical. Today we are tracing the long, winding, and soul-drenched roads of the blues.
Now, full disclaimer, this isn't just history, it's roots. The blues is the reason I picked up a guitar, the reason I love a growling trumpet solo that lingers on a blue note just a hair too long.
When I play minor phrases on the violin or viola, I'm not just performing, I'm connecting with something ancient, something aching, something that refuses to stay quiet.
You? Quiet? Well, makes sense then. Refuses to. So buckle in, we're going all the way back to where the blues really begins. Not in the studio or on a stage, but in bondage.
Long before the term blues existed, before records, radios, or even guitars, there were the voices of enslaved people in the American South.
And they weren't singing for applause, they sang to survive. Field hollers, spirituals, work chants. This was music born in pain, but also endurance. The blues is what happens when the soul refuses to break.
There's something just raw and ancient about those early field hollers. No instruments, no harmony, just one human voice blending pitch, sliding between notes, echoing across cotton fields.
And the rhythms, those came straight from West Africa. Syncopation, polyrhythms, call and response. Even without drums, people clapped, stomped, slapped their bodies. The body became the percussion.
The blues notes we talk about, those flattened thirds and sevenths, they're not just stylistic choices, they're survival techniques. It's what you do when you're singing with everything but a full scale.
And those notes would come to define the blues. Not just musically, but emotionally. They're unstable, tense, perfect for telling hard truths.
After emancipation, Black musicians started using what they had access to: banjos, fiddles, early guitars.
And let's talk about the bottleneck slide. That's some ingenuity. Take a knife, a bone, or the neck of a glass bottle and slide it across the strings of a guitar, and suddenly you've got a human voice wailing through steel strings.
It's visceral. You can feel the friction, the pleading, the stretch of those notes.
Same with the harmonica. Cheap, portable, easy to hide, but put it in the hands of a bluesman and it becomes the train whistle. This crying wind, the Mississippi saxophone.
These weren't expensive instruments, but in the blues, it was never about perfection. It was about truth, and truth doesn't always sound clean, nor should it.
Sometimes it just sounds right.
Let's talk about where blues really grew some legs. The Mississippi Delta.
If the blues had a holy land, this is it. Swampy, steamy, dangerous, and rich with sound.
We're talking about folks like Charlie Patton, who could play guitar behind his back, stomp his feet to the beat, and shout through a storm.
Patton was a showman and a preacher, rolled into one rough voice. Then came Sunhouse, who preached on Sunday and played the devil's music the rest of the week. His slide guitar work, untouchable.
You can hear the conflict in his voice, joy and guilt, devotion and sin. The blues is full of that kind of tension.
And of course, Robert Johnson.
The man who made the deal with the devil?
Yes.
I haven't turned the page yet. The legend himself sold his soul to the devil at the roads.
Also a great movie starring Ralph Macchio. And Steve Vai. Which, let's be clear, was a metaphor. Probably, maybe, depends how many drinks you've had.
True, but musically, Johnson was ahead of his time. His phrasing, his finger picking, the way his voice danced around the chords, it was supernatural. Hence, the myth.
Yeah. He recorded just 29 songs before dying at 27. But those tracks shook the world. Hellhound on My Trail still haunts me.
So he's part of the 27 Club.
Yeah, he was the founding member.
That's dope. You are, yeah, okay. Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, who else? Oh, Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As Black families moved towards the north during the Great Migration, the blues What?
You skipped a
Oh, and that was you. I'm so sorry.
That's what I said.
He was the blues incarnate, both man and myth.
As black families moved north during the Great Migration, the blues hitched a ride.
Cities like Chicago, Detroit, and St. Louis became the new home for this music. But the sound had to change. You couldn't shout over traffic with an acoustic guitar.
So they plugged in, literally. Electric guitars, amps, microphones. Welcome to the urban blues.
Muddy Waters was the lightning bolt, straight out of Mississippi, but once he electrified in Chicago, it was game over. Songs like I'm Your Hoochie Coochie Man brought swagger, groove, and grit.
And Howled Wolf. His voice was a growl from the underworld. He didn't sing so as much as some in the blues.
These weren't just songs anymore. They were statements, power chords for people who had long been denied power.
This was blues built for the steel and neon of the modern world.
We got to talk about the women, though, because they were there from the beginning.
Absolutely. In fact, the first real blues stars, women.
Ma Rainey, the mother of the blues, she didn't just perform the blues, she commanded it. She was openly bisexual, widely confident, and didn't care who approved.
And then there's Bessie Smith, the empress. Her voice could shake walls.
When she sang, you felt it. She sang about love, loss, rage, and joy, her way. And she sold millions of records in the 1920s.
That's not just success, that's trailblazing.
And let's not forget about Memphis Minnie, guitarist, songwriter, total badass. She went toe-to-toe with the male bluesmen and outplayed them.
Women didn't just sing the blues, they defined it.
Hell yeah.
Now here's where things get weird. In the 1950s, America kinda forgot the blues.
But across the Atlantic, the British were listening. They treated blues records like sacred text.
You've got the Rolling Stones, Cream, the Yardbirds. These were white kids trying to sound like their heroes. Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, and Elmore James.
Eric Clapton basically lived inside Robert Johnson's records. He covered Crossroad Blues like it was scripture.
It was through British rock that a lot of Americans rediscovered the blues.
And to be fair, some of those bands were respectful. Others, let's just say they borrowed heavily without saying thanks.
Talking to Led Zeppelin here. But artists like B.B. King and Howled Wolf suddenly had international fans. The blues got a second wind.
And it didn't stop. It never stopped.
Modern blues is alive, and not just in museums or tribute bands.
Take Bonnie Raitt. Her slide guitar is pure fire and her voice carries every ounce of truth.
Or Gary Clark Jr. bridging blues, rock, and hip-hop with raw electricity.
Well, okay, so Shamikia Copeland, Kingfish Ingram, and Susan Tedeschi, the torchbearers are many. And they're still bending strings and breaking hearts.
Even genres that seem distant, hip-hop, country, soul, they owe everything to the blues.
You heard it. Oh, wait, sorry. You hear it in Kendrick Lamar, in Brandi Carlile, in John Mayer's best guitar solos. It's everywhere.
Every time a chord progression lands heavy on that 4-1 turnaround, every time a singer slides into a minor third and holds it, there's the blues.
The blues isn't just about being sad. It's about naming your sadness, giving it rhythm, turning it into resistance.
And that's why it's still here. Because as long as there's a struggle, there's music that tells the truth.
It's not perfect, it's real. And it lives in the cracks between notes, the ones you bend with a string or sing with a tear in your voice.
And as musicians ourselves, we feel it in the breath of a trumpet solo, in the way a viola note hangs in the air, the ache, that beauty.
The blues isn't just history, it's still humming, still crying, still howling at the moon.
That's it for today's brief journey through time and sound. Thanks for joining us on Time Tellers.
And if this episode struck a chord, see what I did there? Make sure to subscribe, rate us, and share it with someone who needs a little soul in their playlist.
We'll see you next time with another story that shaped our world and the music we carry inside of it.
Until then, stay brave, stay curious, and keep on telling time.
Cue guitar solo.